Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Hi Puneet, Angam, Devangana, Vaibhav. Okay, I was just asking students if you have managed to get hold of the textbook Human Geography by Majid Hussain. You can either have edition 5 or edition 6. I will use edition 5. Not much difference, just couple of pages, will not match, but we can figure that out. If you're buying, I'll recommend that you buy edition 6. Like if you can get hold of the new one. Okay, fine. Okay, let's get started now. So we have started with population geography. In population geography, I have discussed two things. One, I discussed the evolution of the species. You know some names, which area of the world had the evolution first. Cover page of all the books. I think we have done that, Sunena, but I'll help you with that again. I think most students should have got those pages. Otherwise, this is my 5th edition book. It's a blue cover. The 6th edition is a greenish cover, if I'm not wrong, right? Acha, ye wala hai. Can you please show me? Can you pass that to me? This is the 6th edition textbook. We do share a sheet of the cover pages. I'll see if you've not got it, I'll share that on the channel maybe. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay. So I discussed the evolution of the species, some names, some details of what they did. The hominins is what we had discussed. Linked to this evolution, we also talked about spread of the human species. So I gave you two versions out of Africa hypothesis and also out of China hypothesis. Out of Africa hypothesis tells us the human species evolved from around Lake Victoria, and in time the population spread thereafter. Out of China hypothesis, this is better explaining the spread of the race called as Mongoloids. Mongoloid population from China, they may have moved northwards, further eastwards, and I mentioned how they are among the most well-distributed races of the world. So these two we have done, and I gave an idea about the map also, how the spread happened. So it all starts from somewhere Africa, Victoria, and then the spread towards different parts. So these three things we have done one. And the second discussion we had was on what is the pattern of population distribution. Pattern of population distribution. And while discussing this, I said that before I enter the pattern, can we discuss the causes? The cause or the reason. We said that there are physical factors. Some areas have favorable conditions where people can live. Those areas will have more population. Areas which are adverse conditions, maybe extreme climate or lack of soil, lack of water, dry conditions, mountainous areas, you can't live in those conditions. So those areas you'll have lesser population. But then I said the more important factors are the human factors. Human factors, because unlike other life forms, man is capable of modifying the environment. I need not always depend on my evolution and my adaptation. It's not that if it's very, very cold, we grow long body hair. Or if it is in the water, we will need gills. Aisa nahi hai. Man can modify things. I can make my submarines, I can make my houses, I can adjust according to the temperatures using air conditioners. So human factors are more important than the physical factors. Physical factors may have been more important when we have the earliest of people, when we did not have much technology. But if you look at how people live today, okay, we have urbanization as a process, human factors, agriculture as a process, human factors, okay, migration as a process, okay, human factors, how we have been able to modify our living conditions. I said we make houses and use technology and use of technology. So this is a more important factor in how people live where they are living. So we made one statement that this physical factor version is what's called as environmental determinism. This is a school of thought that says that whatever happens, it is the environment that determines, okay, the patterns. The environment controls our human decisions. The environment determines whatever we see on the earth. So in this school of thought, man is passive. Man cannot choose. Man is more reactive. Man is like any other animal. Okay, and the example of this I had mentioned in the works of Aristotle when he talked about ecumene and non-ecumene. He talked about ecumene concept, non-ecumene concept. Yeah, I gave these words to you. And ultimately we said that this is not the right approach. Even if there may be some truth to this, the reality is that man does not always react to environment mechanically. Man can modify agriculture, migrations, settlements, economic activities, resources and their exploitation in terms of colonial systems. There are a whole lot of factors that man decides, because of which the population is where it is. Yeah, so essentially we are discussing, what we're discussing is that population distribution is not uniform. Population distribution is not uniform. Okay, some places have more population, and other places they have a sparse population. Okay, population distribution is unequal. The question is why? Why don't people live everywhere, and why some people prefer in some locations and some places are ignored? So ये why का answer है that the reasons we can see is in terms of environment which supports us, or reasons can be human processes which decide how we live. Yeah, so our discussion was distribution, correct. Anybody else offline? Any questions on this? The older ones know this. The new ones, I hope you understood the idea of synopsis making on daily basis. How many of you tried that? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so keep at it, please. Okay, this is, I will talk about it more frequently, but eventually I'll leave it to you. Okay, I can only suggest what should work for you, but make sure you make it a habit, you make sure you make it a part of your learning study methods. Every day, without any excuse, it does not matter what all you have to eventually. The must-do work is make your summaries every day. Okay? Okay, you want to clarify anything with anybody? Any doubts you have? Any clarifications you seek? Age of civilization should be considered Atul, basically talking about is history important factor or not? And if it's history, should that be human factor or should that be physical factor? So Atul, it's like this. Initially, when the people started living, definitely initially the factors must have been physical. Initially, people will live more along the rivers. People prefer living in warm conditions which has good sunlight. People will prefer living in areas where there's enough open land. Okay, so yes, to start with, in historical interpretation, environmental factors were more important. But in time, environment factors man starts to modify more efficiently. Environment factors man is able to manage more effectively. So in time, historical factor then becomes a human factor. Your friend is asking, Atu is asking us, so should we consider history of a place or not? And if history is important, then what do we say? Do we call the process as the consequence of physical factors, or do we call the process as a consequence of human factors? The answer is yes, historical factors are important. Jaise India has 1.4 billion population, more than this. Or Asia, if I take up as a continent, Asia has 60% of the world's population. Asia has 3 large areas of population. South Asia एक large area है, एक Southeast Asia एक large area है, and East Asia, China, Korea, Japan has lot of people. The question is why? Why does Asia have so many population? The answer is Asia has the longest history in terms of civilizations. Okay, talk about the top civilizations, the 4-5 of them. Harappan civilization, your Mesopotamia civilization, you have the Chinese Wang He civilizations, we have civilizations of the Yunnan Valley. Okay, so if people have been living in an area for a long time, you're bound to have more people, right? Say compare India with Canada. Okay, India people have been living for almost 5,000 years. 4,000 साल से तो हमें पता है India has had urban civilization. Harappa is urban civilization. But ऐसा थोड़ी है कि before 4,000 we didn't have people. So in India, people have been living for 4,000, 5,000 years. Canada में, okay, hardly any population till 30, 40 years ago. So why does India have more people? Why does Canada, Australia less people? Because these have been inhabited much later. So yes, history important hai. Then I trace back, why does India have more people? Because India has the largest floodplains of the world. India has monsoon climate. India has fertile soils. Okay, so that encouraged. But thereafter, it is not only because of natural factors. फिर एक factor, our growth rate भी है. Okay, the TFR, the number of children per women. One big reason is India also has a lot of in-migrations happening from different areas. So to start with, maybe physical factors are more important. Eventually, human factors take up. Eventually, the choices that we make in terms of where we live, that becomes more important than simply the physical factors. Answered your question, Atul? In fact, this discussion आज हम करेंगे. I'll take this topic up for discussion today. Anybody else, any question offline, any doubts on this? Yes. Definitely, and not just more urban, it's also for more agriculture also. Agriculture is also not entirely dependent only on the physical factors. Okay, so a lot of irrigation, the type of seeds we have, the farming methods we have. So both urbanization and agriculture, both will have a very important role of human factors rather than physical factors. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So, in the factors, I discussed the physical factors, then I was discussing human factors. Okay. So, in human factors, write couple of points more. I think that's where I left you, right? Okay. So, in human factors, write down. In human factors, write down that the present day distribution of population, the present day distribution of population can be seen as a consequence of, number one, the economic factors and urbanization and industrialization. Economic factors, urbanization and industrialization. Okay. In this, write down urban areas invariably have higher population densities. They have higher population densities and economic prospects attracts migration populations. Economic prospects attracts migration populations. In India, more than 1/3 of its population lives in urban areas. 1/3 of its population lives in urban areas. Okay. And some of the largest population concentration pockets are, the urban megacities, and urban corridors. Okay. So, urbanization is one very important factor why people live where they live. Okay. And within bracket mention that in the developed world, it is migrations to urban cities. Which is the main factor of population increase. Is the main factor for population increase. Okay? So urbanization is one important factor. Number two, population growth rates associated with high birth rate. Population growth rate associated with high birth rates. So if you look at India, India has a classic north-south divide. Okay, in India, more people live in northern India, less people live in southern India. More people live in the northern plains, less people live in the southern states of India. ऐसा नहीं है कि northern plains people are there because of urbanization. Northern plains are agrarian societies. Northern plains have rural communities. Northern plains has a higher birth rates associated with poverty and associated with lack of awareness and lack of health amenities. Okay, UP alone has a population of more than 200 million population. Not because UP has more urbanization, it's because in UP there is farming communities, there are traditional mindsets, there's a patriarchal mindset, preference for a boy child, there is lack of women health awareness, multiple pregnancies, and that's how Northern Plains has more population. So factors may, one important factor is urbanization is important. At same time, I'm saying that even rural conditions and traditional mindsets are responsible for why some areas have more people. You know? What are urban corridors, Dhruv? Urban corridors are continuous expansion of urban areas. So if you are in Delhi, if you understand this, Delhi, South Delhi, we have Gurgaon, we have Manesar, going towards Alwar, going towards Jaipur, it becomes a continuous urban corridor. Same development, think of Mumbai. Mumbai expands, it goes towards Surat, expands, goes to Ankleshwar, Bharuch. It becomes a continuous urban agglomerations. Yes, something like conurbations, correct, Atul. Okay, so urban corridors are those long linear expansion of urban areas. Achha. Now come back to the second one, write down that the rural populations with their agrarian economies, rural populations with their agrarian economies and traditional mindsets along with poverty, with traditional mindsets along with poverty, is responsible for larger populations, because of higher natural growth rates, larger populations because of higher natural growth rates, that is growth associated with higher birth rates, that is growth associated with higher birth rates or natural, इसको बोलते हैं natural, ऐसे natural growth, I basically mean birth rate minus death rate. Okay, write down. In traditional rural societies, factors like patriarchy, comma, desire for the boy child, patriarchy, comma, desire for the boy child, comma, early marriage, frequent pregnancies, and higher TFR. TFR is total fertility rate, and higher TFR can result in high growth rates and therefore larger populations. High growth rates and therefore larger populations. Total fertility rate. TFR means total fertility rates. It is the number of children per woman, TFR. I'll explain, give me some more time today itself. I'll explain what it is. TFR is total fertility rates. So when there is poverty, lack of education, lack of awareness, there is desire for the boy child, the women get married earlier. So all these factors can result in more people in that region. Right down. South Asia has around 25% of the world's population. South Asia has around 25% of the world's population. Because of higher growth rates. Because of higher growth rates associated with higher birth rates. Associated with higher birth rates. So what I'm saying is, why some areas have more population. Okay, why some regions have more people. One reason is because of in-migration. Okay, the in-migration factor is more related to urbanization. It's more related to industrial development. It's more related to job opportunities. Okay, and the second reason is also because of higher growth rates, which is a function of a higher, yes, because of higher birth rates, higher TFR. So why some places have more people? It can be this, or a combination of both taking place together. So in urban areas, this operates more. So why does Delhi? Delhi is approximately 13 to 15 million population if I add all the adjoining cities around in Delhi. Delhi, Rohtak, Gurgaon, Faridabad, Ghaziabad, Sonipat, Panipat, Alwar, अगर add कर देते हैं, we say Delhi NCR has approximately more than 13 million population. Some data says it's approximately 15 million population. Why? Because Delhi is a magnet. Okay, they attract more populations, they attract more people because of job opportunities. Okay, and I said, ऐसा नहीं है फिर कि rural areas don't have people. वहाँ पर भी ज़्यादा लोग हैं, but the reasons there is because of the higher birth rates and higher TFR. Right, next, write down. Locations, the third point, locations that have adverse consequences, like conflicts, comma, declining economic prospects, which have conflicts, declining economic prospects, have out migrations, and therefore in time will have lesser population. Okay, you also have higher death rates here. Like think of Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine is fairly now depopulated. People have moved on to Hungary, people have moved on to Poland, people are shifting towards parts of Eastern Europe. So जहाँ पर भी झगड़ा हो रहा है, conflicts हो रहा है, people are dying, and also people move out. Write down that places like Central Asia, Ukraine, or the conflict regions of Africa, okay, progressively will get depopulated. ठीक है? So human factors में क्या factors आया? One, I said urbanization is a factor. Second, I said the traditional mindsets and the growth rate as a factor. We have conflicts and poverty also as a factor. But then you realize that these things are not actually automatic. To a large extent, This is a consequence of lot of political and developmental policies or developmental processes associated. Conflicts अपने आप थोड़ी होता है. Conflict is the consequence of some political dynamics happening or urbanization. Why did Delhi become urban area? It's not on its own, right? Somebody said Delhi is India's capital. Somebody said Delhi should be India's presidency. Somebody said Delhi should have a very large airport. Okay. Why did Mumbai become a mega city? अपने आप थोड़ी बन गया. Somebody decided that Mumbai can be a big port. Somebody said Mumbai can become India's presidency. Somebody decided, let us have industries in Mumbai. And that's how Mumbai starts attracting. So if you look at the root of these problems, again are conscious choices we may have made in history. Okay, so Ukraine war is not an automatic thing. Somebody made a choice that we will attack, we'll have fight a war, people will die and people will move out. Somebody decided that okay, we need not care much about development of hill areas. So people are moving out of hill areas now. Okay, write down. At the root of the human factors, are conscious choices and policies. At the root of human factors are conscious policies or political factors that make certain locations more attractive, and other locations less attractive for human growth. So think of a country like Canada. Okay, the fact is, in the recent history, a lot of Canadian growth has happened because of people moving in. There was a time when Canada was largely uninhabited, not habited. Slowly, gradually, people live there. So Canada has more people today than it had maybe 70, 80 years ago. Why? Because people are coming inside. Because Canadian government made some policies. The policy is that will give you a job. The policy is that will give you tax benefits. The policy is that we encourage migrations. आप देखो आप US का जो H1B visa issue है, ये क्या? It's a political thing, right? So people move or people grow not on their own. Somebody is controlling those processes. Somebody decided that Australia can become a place for development. They need labor. Let us encourage labor to come inside. Or today, if you look at China, China has now reducing population. It's not automatic. Somebody made a political decision that in China we cannot have more than one child per family. It's a policy. It's a deliberate plan that ultimately results in what type of growth or population a region has. Write down. In the contemporary world, China has witnessed gradual depopulation. While locations like Canada, Australia, and the US have progressively added more people. They have progressively added more people because of deliberate government policies that discourage growth rates, or encourage migrations. that discourage growth rates or encourage migrations. Okay. So summary में, what are the human factors affecting population distribution? The human factors are urbanization. Human factors are traditional mindsets and poverty. The human factors are presence or absence of conflicts. The human factors are political decisions and policies. Okay, these are the factors that decide why some places have more people and why some places have relatively lesser number of people. Is it okay, all of you? Because these topics are not difficult. The challenge will be that you must write these in some amount of words and make sure you have examples in them. Okay, examples in geography, this is a common question. Sir, how do we write with the geographical perspective? Geographical perspective matlab hai, there must be locations and there must be maps mentioned. अगर आप maps, locations नहीं बना पा रहे हो या mention नहीं कर रहे हो, the answer will not have the geographical flavor. ठीक है? That's what we are doing right now. Okay. So now you know the factors. So what is the pattern in that case? The pattern of population distribution. What does the pattern look like? Okay, so give us a heading. The pattern of population distribution. Okay. Pattern, I have given you 2-3 points already, which is there is a hemispherical contrast. Okay, north-south divide hai. Northern hemisphere has more people than southern hemisphere. We have more people living in the tropical lands. The pattern of distribution kya hai? Okay, the northern hemisphere, hemispherical contrast. Northern hemisphere has more land and therefore more population. There's a hemispherical contrast. Northern hemisphere has more land and therefore more people. You know this already. Tropical lands have more people. Tropical lands are warmer. Tropical lands have good rivers. Tropical lands have a good soil. Tropical lands favors agriculture. Okay. So tropical areas in general have more populations. That's one pattern. Then the pattern is that urban areas have more people. They have more densities of population because of in-migration. ये भी pattern है. Urban areas have more people because of more in-migration. Okay. And then I also mentioned that rural areas also can have more because linked to traditional issues and higher birth rates. Okay, this core 3-4 points you understand. Urban areas have more population. Even rural areas can have more population because of the traditional mindset and higher birth rates. Mindset and higher birth rates. Okay. Now this pattern, how does it look in terms of the continental and a regional scale? A pattern दिखता कैसे है across continents and across regional scales. Okay, so we say broadly, there are locations with a very low and low populations. Keep jotting the way I am discussing. Okay, इसमें कुछ लिखने वाला है नहीं ज़्यादा कुछ. So what does the pattern look like on the continental or regional scale? The pattern of population on the continental scale or the regional scale. As a number one, we have places with low and very low population regions. low and very low population regions. So what type of places have low and very low population regions? So these are areas which are hilly, areas which are deserts, okay, areas which are extremes of climate, areas which are swamps, okay, areas which are ice caps. They are very, very sparsely populated. Hilly regions, hilly and mountainous regions, deserts. We have places which have extreme climate, very, very hot, very, very cold. Okay, swamps, marshes, areas which have ice caps. So you realize, जहाँ पर भी low and very low population है, these areas are largely those areas which have very adverse physical conditions. Okay, the places with low, very low population are areas which have very adverse physical conditions. Then we have regions. Then we have regions with a very high population concentration. The regions with very high population concentration regions. ये कौन से regions हैं? They are South Asia, they are East Asia, they are Southeast Asia, Western Europe, and we also have Northeastern US. These 5 pockets have some of the largest population pockets of the world. We call these regions as the primary pockets of population concentration. South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia. South Asia is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Okay, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Southeast Asia. East Asia is China, Japan, Korea. Southeast Asia, Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia. Likh lo, please write down within brackets. South Asia, Southeast Asia. South Asia, you mentioned the countries. Southeast Asia is Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia. Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia. That's Southeast Asia. East Asia is China, Japan, and Korea. Western Europe, Britain, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany. Western Europe, okay, is Britain, Ireland, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, France, Spain. That's Western Europe. As a region, Northeast US. Northeast US is also called as the regions of New England states. It's also called as the regions of New England states. We're talking about some states of US, जैसे New York, like Rhodes Island, like, yes, Delaware, Connecticut, North South Carolina. Yes, you can, but that's फिर भी नीचे हो जाता है. Connecticut. Then you have Massachusetts. ठीक है. Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. Yes, 4-5 names are sufficient. New York, Rhodes Island, Maryland. Yes, Maryland. Delaware, 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 Connecticut, Massachusetts. We call these states as New England states. These are some of the most urbanized areas of the world. They're some of the most urbanized areas of the world. We call these pockets as primary pockets of population concentration. They are the primary pockets of population concentration. और यहाँ पर you can see the mix. Okay, maybe you can write down one by one, short discussions and keep them in bullet form. Answer may be na, these discussions don't put in a paragraph. Okay, paragraph में discussions रखो, ये facts वाले put them in bullets, diagrams and so on. Okay, so let's take up South Asia. Some facts about South Asia लिखो आप, South Asia. So approximately 25% of the world's population, 25% of the world's population, high growth rates यहाँ पर है. There are high birth rates, high TFR. It is predominantly rural and traditional society. Predominantly rural and traditional society. It is still growing, but at a lesser rate. This region is still growing. इसका अभी भी population बढ़ रहा है, but at a lesser rate. It has slowed down. South Asia, and one of the big contributors is India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. Okay, South Asia. Then let's talk about East Asia. East Asia, again about 25% of the world's population. 25% of the world's population. Okay. It was traditional rural areas. It was traditional and rural areas. But since last 5-6 decades, it has dramatically transformed. It has dramatically transformed. It's highly urbanized and its population is reducing. Its population is reducing. Okay. China already has negative growth rates now, and so does Japan. So this is a large area, but it is rapidly declining. Okay. Why? Because this was like South Asia, but it has transformed very effectively. Southeast Asia, again around more than 20% of the world's population. Southeast Asia, more than 20% of the world's population. It also was predominantly rural. It also was predominantly rural. But is transforming rapidly. But is transforming rapidly. Okay? So in all likelihood, Southeast Asia will become like East Asia. Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. Okay. So the population here is growing very slowly. Right now, Southeast Asia mein, the population is growing very slowly. And in the future, it will convert like East Asia region. It will convert into like East Asia region. The next is Europe. Next is Europe or Western Europe. It has less than 10% of the world's population. Less than 10% of the world's population. Approximately 10 ज़्यादा बता दिया मैंने. Okay, Europe has less than 7% of the world's population. population, and is rapidly declining. Is rapidly declining. It has very high urbanization. It has very high urbanization. In the future, Europe will witness rapid depopulation. Europe will witness rapid depopulation. Okay. And something like Europe is also North America. North America and the northeastern US. North America and northeastern US. Like Europe, it has low birth rates. Like Europe, it has low birth rates. But migration has balanced its population size. Migration has balanced its population size. तो यही फर्क है. In Europe, the population is declining. America, on other hand, has managed to keep itself very balanced, because the policies are that they keep on attracting labor. When the campaign was happening, at that time, Donald Trump was very, very anti H-1B visa, right? And suddenly now you realize that he says we can have policies encouraging, but we are against illegal migration. The fact is, American economy cannot survive without in-migration. The same is true for Europe also. They need labor. For that matter, even Japan is considering that they can allow more liberal policies for in-migration. Okay, so America is something like Europe, but America has managed to keep itself to labor benefits or labor at what remains because of its migration policies. So these are the main primary pockets of the world. Take all of you. So what you can do in your notes is, you can show this, okay? So the Northeast US is one primary pocket. Okay. We have Europe. We have Britain here. So show it something like this. So this part of Western Europe is declining population. You can show South Asia, Southeast Asia. So one region is South Asia, ye wala region. Other being the East Asia, and the third being the Southeast Asia. Okay, so this is South Asia. You can have points here. This is Southeast Asia along with Indonesia and the rest. And this is East Asia. So please draw this sketch quickly. North America. This is northeastern US. This is Western Europe. East Asia, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. This one technique of sketching, don't draw the whole world map. Just draw the part you want to show. You'll save time. Your diagrams also look more mature diagrams. ठीक है. South Asia में जो points आपका है, this is predominantly rural, higher birth rates, about 25% of the world's population, this is agrarian. So a traditional society, it has a high growth rates. Southeast Asia, it was rural, converting into urban. Okay. It has a high growth rate, but declining very rapidly, around 20% of world's population. So, ऐसे diagrams में, if you put some data facts, you don't need to write that as a paragraph anymore. Okay, you have drawn this pattern. Okay, Northeast US, a couple of facts. Okay, so back in your room, back in the summary sheets, finish this. The primary pockets of the world. हो गया आपका? All done? Okay, so I can move on, all of you? Right. So, discussing the patterns mein, so we discussed yes. So, here we go. While discussing the patterns, I discussed the areas of very low population. I discussed the regions which have high population. The third is, okay, a localized population concentration pockets. The localized population concentration pockets. Areas with very low population, areas with very large population, okay, and in terms of the regions, ये localized pockets क्या क्या हैं? Localized pockets, we call these areas as population knots and population strings बोलते हैं. Population knots and population strings. Knots means what? At some small area people are located. In general, Mexico is desert. Bulk of Mexico lives in one city, the Mexico City. वैसे Brazil, bulk of population live in southeast Brazil around a city called as Sao Paulo. Or think of Egypt. Pura Egypt khali hai. But along the river, Nile, you have got populations. We call that as population strings. They're along one river. They're along one valley. They're along one port or one city. That's why I'm saying the localized. So example of these. So यहाँ पर क्या है? The advantages and conditions for population is limited to a small area. The advantages and the conditions for populations, the favorable conditions for populations is limited to a small area along a river or around some city. Along a river or along some city. For example, in Brazil, this is around the city of Sao Paulo and the port of Santos. In Brazil, around Sao Paulo and the port of Santos, S-A-N. ये Sao Paulo, Santos, ये together उठाकर approximately more than 70% of Brazil's economy. You name a sector, this area has it. ये southeastern Brazil है, Sao Paulo and Santos. वैसे ही I talked about Egypt. Egypt, we have it along the river Nile Valley. This is Egypt like this. यहाँ पे river Nile. Whatever people we have, they live along this river Nile. This is a string. वैसे I mentioned Mexico. Most people live in around the Mexico City. In around the Mexico City. In Russia, we have more people living along a river Volga. Volga is a pretty long river. Along river Volga, the population concentrates. River Volga. In Canada, we have, I think I mentioned this to you already, a river Saint Lawrence. Along a river Saint Lawrence. In Africa, there are 5 population knots. In Africa, there are 5 population knots जहाँ पर people concentrate. What are they? One is southern Nigeria, around Lagos and Abuja. अगर Africa है, in Africa, I said, there are 5 such pockets. One is southern Nigeria. There's a port called as Lagos and this city called as Abuja. Abuja is the capital of Nigeria. This is one pocket. In South Africa, 2 pockets hai. One is Cape Town as a pocket और एक यहाँ पर है Johannesburg as a pocket. There are people living here. Then a major population lives in Libya around Tripoli and Benghazi. Along Tripoli and Benghazi, okay, these are capitals and oil regions of Libya. Libya, Tripoli and Benghazi. Okay. In Morocco, we have people living around Casablanca. In Morocco, people living around Casablanca is a major port and a pocket of population. Casablanca, K-A-S-A-B-L-A-N-C-A, Casablanca. C-A, yes. C-A. B-L-A-N-C-A, Casablanca. So 5 pockets. और भी pockets हैं, ये major है. There's one pocket, ये भी add कर सकते हो. There's one pocket here called as Dar es Salaam. Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, correct. Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Okay, so not 5, add 6 pockets. Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Okay. वैसे we have in Australia, the bulk of population lives in Southeast Australia. So अगर ये Australia है ऐसे, so somewhere here, okay, this is this place called as Sydney, Canberra. We have Melbourne. Okay, this part has the bulk of the population of Australia. Okay? So that is about the population distribution. The primary pockets, the areas with low population, and the population at some cities or some rivers. So the population is strings and knots at a very local scale. All done, all of you? Okay. Now put a star mark and write down, an important word, write down. The population distribution Population distribution like any other population attribute. Population distribution like any other population attribute or population property attribute is a dynamic concept. It is a dynamic concept. That is the population is not static. The population is not static. Okay. Distribution too can change. The distribution too can change as policies and living conditions change. As policies and living conditions change. Okay. So, for example, as of now, Africa has around 15% of the world's population. Africa has around 15% of the world's population, which is low given the size of the continent. The less population is because of higher mortality rates. Higher mortality rates related to poverty, hunger, conflicts, related to poverty, hunger, conflicts, and out-migration. In the future, when the mortality rates get controlled and reduce, as the mortality rates gets controlled and reduces, Africa can have more than 20% of the world's population. Africa can have more than 20% of the world's population by the turn of the century. So if you look at Africa, Africa is the second largest continent. Compare Africa with Asia. Asia is largest continent और Asia में 60% of the world's population है. Okay. Africa is second largest और Africa में we have only 15% of the world's population. Why? Because Africa में we have got high out migration, plus we also have lot of deaths. People are dying because of hunger, because of conflicts, because of diseases, Ebola virus, AIDS virus. Like Africa has higher rates of mortality. But we are optimistic कि ऐसा हमेशा रहेगा नहीं. There will be time when we can find cure for the diseases. We're optimistic that conflicts will get over, hunger problem will be taken care of. When this happens, Africa will have more population. So by 2100, okay, if these can be reversed, Africa can have almost 20% of the world's population. A small discussion like a case study, okay, that the population distribution is not a static concept. It can change because of changing factors, changing policies, and changing conditions in which people live, survive, and grow. Okay? Okay. So that's distribution. Now, right ahead, measures of population distribution. measures of population distribution. How do we measure it? Measures of distribution. So quickly I'll mention a couple of them. So one of the very popular measure is density measures. Okay. Density measures. Density essentially is the population divided by an area. Okay, how much population per area? Density. Now, density, there are three types of density. Okay, I hope you all ready now as I speak. So, population density is one measure. At a very abstract level, it is a ratio, population by area. Okay, so there are 4 types of density. One is what's called as a physiological density. One is a physiological density. It's also called as nutritional density. Physiological density also called as nutritional density. Also called as nutritional density. This is the total population divided by the total population divided by the total total agriculture area by total agricultural area. Total population by total agricultural area. Okay. There are 2 lines here. This measure of density is more about calculating the pressure on agricultural land. It's more about calculating the pressure on agricultural land. Okay. Or it's a measure of the pressure on agricultural resources. It's a measure of pressure on agricultural resources. Okay? So you tell me what is good for a country? फिजियोलॉजिकल डेंसिटी ज्यादा है तो अच्छा है या कम है तो अच्छा है? Yeah, but in any country, what is desirable? Should this be more or less? Yes, low. Basically implies that you should have more area and less population. Okay. So a country that does not have agricultural land, so क्या होने वाला है? It will be very, very high figure, right? Okay, a ratio of population by area of agricultural land. A country that does not have enough land in agriculture, उसका क्या होगा? उसका ratio will be very, very high. Basically, a very large numerator and a very small denominator. It means less agricultural land supports more people. Okay, write down. This measure is a better measure for economies which have agriculture dependence. It's a good measure for economies that have agriculture dependence. But is not as relevant for urbanized economies. It is not as relevant for urbanized economies. This was one of the older measures. Okay, इसका main idea था कि tell us if the agriculture land available, is it good enough or not? Okay, write down countries like Singapore, or Egypt, Singapore or Egypt, or Brazil will have very high physiological densities. Will have very high physiological density. Or even Japan, correct? Because they have very less agricultural land. They have very less agricultural land. Okay? So that's one measure, which we say it is a good idea, but not good because many countries don't have agriculture economy. Say if I look at New York में agriculture land almost zero hoga, right? Okay, means a very small area, large economy. Okay, large population, but does not mean it will collapse. See, one of the basis of importance is that such economies which have agricultural land, they depend on subsistence farming. Whatever food they need, they grow from their farms alone. Whereas countries which have trade-based food, they need food, they can buy food. They need food, they can trade food. In those countries, I don't care about the agricultural land heavy ki nahi hai. Like Bombay will not be concerned about agricultural land, right? Bombay needs food, he can buy it. Write down. This measure made more sense. This measure made more sense for economies that depend on subsistence farming. For economies that depend on a subsistence farming. Subsistence farming. But given agriculture trade, and policies that help distribute and access food, this measure of population pressure is not much relevant. All of you, does it make sense, all of you here? Economies who grow their own food. I grow the food for my own consumptions. I don't buy. I'm not trading. तो वहां पर बहुत important है that I must have enough land for cultivation. So this measure is more relevant for economies that are dependent on their own subsistence farming. I hope you know this word. Subsistence का मतलब क्या होता है? You grow the food that you need. You are consuming from your local production. In those areas, it's very important to have a very low physiological density. But if I have policies of trade, policies of distribution, policy we can source agriculture food, I don't care about this anymore. Whatever food Delhi consumes, it is not because Delhi is producing. Delhi has revenues to procure the food. Delhi has ability to access the food even if Delhi does not produce its own food. So in these economies, this pressure of population is not of much consequence. Okay? Okay. So that's one measure. The second measure, the most popular one, is called as the arithmetic density. The arithmetic density. This is very simple. It is a ratio total population by total area. Total population by total area. This is the most commonly used attribute. This is the most commonly used, okay, distribution measure. It's a good measure to compare. It is a good measure to compare population distribution at the level of countries. Population distribution at the level of countries. India's arithmetic density is about 380 to 400 persons per square kilometer. India's arithmetic density is about 380 to 400 persons per square kilometer. Per square kilometer. Okay, so to compare India with China, with US, you can use this. But this measure has one problem. It doesn't tell us the distribution of population within the country. Jैसे, this is the country. This is the country that has a population density of, say, random number 100. Some other country, it has population distribution of maybe 200. 100 is the average, hai na? The total people divided by area. But does not mean the people are uniformly distributed. Okay, maybe some places have more people. A lot of places are completely, okay, sparse population. There can be two countries that have same density. Iska bhi 100 hai, iska bhi 100 hai. In this country, the population are uniform distributed. In this country, more people live in only this pocket. Okay, write down that this measure does not tell us about population concentration. It does not tell us about population concentration. It is possible for two countries. It's possible for two countries to have comparable arithmetic density. Comparable arithmetic density, but the concentration patterns can be different. But the concentration patterns can be different. For example, India and Japan have comparable densities. Okay. So India का जो density है, I said 380, 400 है, and Japan's density is about 300, 350. Okay. So India, Japan have very comparable total population by area, but the way the population spreads out is not same. Okay. Compared to Japan, India has a better spread of population. Compared to Japan, India has a better spread of population. In Japan, more than 90% of the population, lives in Eastern Honshu. Honshu, around Okay. 6 to 7 major cities. Around 6 to 7 major cities. So if you look at India, in India, the population is fairly well spread. Although we don't have much population, Jammu Kashmir maybe, we don't have too many people in Northeast maybe, otherwise bulk of India is well spread out. In Japan, okay, there are 4 or 5 big islands. The northern one is called as Hokkaido. Hokkaido almost has no population. बहुत कम people रहते हैं. In Japan, this is the island called as Honshu Island. Much of people of Japan live in the eastern part of Honshu. बस यहीं पर. This part of Honshu is all mountains. और यहाँ पर cities हैं Tokyo, Yokohama, we have Nagoya, we have Osaka, we have Kobe, Kyoto. These are some of the bigger cities of Japan. Okay. Look लो that in Japan, I said more than 90% of the population lives along the eastern coast of Honshu Island. The northern one is called as Hokkaido Island, and there are 2 small islands here called as Shikoku and Kyushu, and a group of small islands of Japan called as Ryukyu Islands. Okay. In Japan, write that down. In Japan, okay, the largest island Honshu, has much of the population around cities like, नाम बताया आपको, cities like Tokyo, Yokohama, Nagoya, Osaka, Kobe, Kyoto. Yeah, you can also mention Hiroshima, correct? These are the bigger cities of Japan. Whereas islands like Hokkaido, Kyushu, Shikoku and Ryukyu. Islands like Hokkaido, Kyushu, Shikoku and Ryukyu, R-Y-U-K-U, Ryukyu Islands, have very sparse populations. The 2 countries which have comparable density, but the pattern of distribution is very different. Yes, you're right. ये जो cities हैं, they are part of 2 large plains. A plain called as Kwanto Plain. Tokyo is part of Kwanto Plains, and Nagoya is part of Nubi Plains. So most of the population of Japan lives in the Kwanto Plains and the Nobi Plains, N-O-B-I, Nobi Plains. Okay? There's more to this, but that's okay. So what are the 2 measures of the population distribution? One is the physiological density, and I told you it's not of much consequence because it is more in reference to agriculture. And the second is the arithmetic density. All fine here? Okay. Now take a fresh page, write down the population distribution pattern for India. Population distribution pattern for India. Write down facts. So about 1.4 plus billion population. That's approximately more than 17% of the world's population in about 2.4% of the world's land. Okay, India has 1.4 billion population, more than that, and that is 17% of the world's population, living in 2.4% of the world's land. India is one of the largest primary pockets of world population. It's part of one of the largest primary pockets of the world's population. Okay, so the factors are responsible for India's large population. Okay. One, of course, is a favorable physical conditions, tropical climate, large rivers, okay, fertile soil. So favorable physical conditions. Yes, coastal areas, correct. Coasts bhi hain. Climates are moderated. Monsoon climate बहुत important है. So we have favorable physical conditions, and because of this, India has a very long history of human habitation. India has a very long history of human habitation. Remember, when did India have people from Africa? As early as 75,000 years ago. Okay, they reached parts of Andaman, Nicobar Islands. So in India, people have been living. In fact, before that also, I think I mentioned this hominin called as Ramapithecus, and even Australopithecus. Fossils have been found in parts of Shivaliks. So India has a very long history of human habitation. Within bracket, write down. There are fossils of hominins in South Asia. There are fossils of hominins in South Asia. And the first human migrations into India and South Asia, was as early as 70 to 80,000 years ago. As early as 70 to 80,000 years ago. India has one of the, or some of the oldest tribes of the world. I think you know this term. We call those tribes as PVTG, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Okay, the people have come to India much earlier. One of the oldest tribal population in the world, PVTGs. We call the PVTGs as India's first nations. They're India's first nations. What do you mean by first nation? Basically, people who brought the first cultures. Okay, nation word means cultures. India is a country of many nations. Okay, India has tremendous national diversity. Okay, the word nation is cultures. The first nation, the first cultures are the PVTGs. Yes, right. Some of the examples of these 3-4 names take lo aap log. I think lot of news is around Sentinelese population. We have the Nicobarese population. Okay. They are among the first tribes. Nicobarese. We have these people called as Ongi, again Andaman Nicobar Islands. Andamanese population. Okay, mainland में we have people called as Birhors. In Nilgiris we have people called as Todas. There are many more, but 6-7 names will do for now. So Sentinelese, Nicobarese, Ongi population, O-N-G-E, Ongi population, Andamanese, Birhors. Birhors found in parts of Odisha. Okay, they're short populations. They look like one variant of Negritos, as in people who have dark skin, woolly hair. Yes, yes, correct, Devananga. You can also add Champins. Yeah? City. Siddhis are not as old as this. No. Siddhis are different. These are the PVTGs. So basically, why does India have so many populations, so many people is because people are living in India for a long, long time. Okay. Right, next point. India has one of the oldest civilizations of the world, the Harappan civilization. India has one of the oldest civilizations of the world. No, not the oldest. The oldest are some of civilizations of Middle East. Yeah, part Mesopotamia se pehle the. Okay, Assyrians are very, very old. Okay, so one of the oldest is fine. Okay, so more than Harappan civilization is more than 4,000 years ago. Okay, that's why people in India are as much as we have. So that's one point. Okay, so why does India have so much population? So I said India has been the home of the human species for a long time. That's one. Second is India's agrarian society, India's rural economy and traditions. Now these have led to mindsets and social attitude choices that has resulted in higher birth rates and higher TFR. India's agrarian society, India's rural economy and the traditional mindsets, India's rural economy and traditional mindsets and attitudes and choices has resulted in higher birth rates and higher TFR rates. Okay, so these are some reasons why India as a country has lot of population. India as a country has higher population. Okay, acha, now within India there is diversity in the population distribution. Within India, there is diversity of population distribution. Okay, so say average density I said is 380/400. The average density is 380/400, but there are variations in population distribution. So what are variations? Lick down 1, 2, 3, 4. Likho points. Variations kya kya hai? Number 1. There is a north-south divide. North-south divide. The northern states of India have more population. The northern states of India have more population than the southern states of India. So the Hindi agrarian belt, accounts for more than 60% of the country's population. Accounts for more than 60% of the country's population. %60 of the country's population. ठीक है, तो इंडिया में क्लासिक नॉर्थ साउथ डिवाइड है. देन द 5 states of UP, Bihar, Bengal, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. UP, Bihar, Bengal, Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh have 50% of India's population. Have 50% of India's population. UP alone has a 200 million population. It's almost 1/5, 1/6 of India. UP alone has 200 million population, which is equivalent to the population of Brazil. Okay? UP alone has the population of Brazil. Next, India adds a 40 million, approximately 40 million every year. And much of the increase of population is also in the northern plains. Basically saying that India में जो north south divide है, this north south divide is here to stay. Okay, north has more people and north continues to add also more people. South has less people and south is also declining populations. States like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, their numbers have very less TFRs. So India's north-south divide of distribution will kind of remain. Okay, next, right next. The smaller states and the hill regions of India, have sparse populations. They have sparse population because of adverse terrain and climate. In fact, one of the least population densities are in this area of Lahul and Spiti. I hope you know this. This is the region of northern Himachal Pradesh. Write down this. Lahul and Spiti, Lahul. Lahul and Spiti have one of the lowest population densities. They are one of the lowest population densities. Next fact, more populations are along. More populations of India are along. Number one, river basins. They're more along river basins. Number two, along the coastal regions. Along river basins, along coastal regions. And number three, around the cities of India. Around the cities of India. In fact, the largest cities of India, are either along rivers, or along the coasts and operate as ports. They're along the coast and they operate as ports of India. You take up the four mega cities, Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai, Chennai. इसमें दिल्ली यमुना गंगा बेसिन हो गया, कोलकाता, मुंबई, चेन्नई, these are ports, and Kolkata is also at the mouth of river Hooghly, right? So if you look at the patterns, the last cities are either along the rivers or they are along the coast and they are ports of India. Okay. So more than 1/3 of India's population, lives in urban areas. And in recent times, okay, India has recorded very rapid rural to urban migrations. India has recorded very rapid rural to urban migrations. Essentially, population distribution is changing very fast. Like we say, India is one of the fastest urbanizing country of the world. One of the fastest urbanizing country of the world. What's the meaning of the word urbanizing? Anybody? Yeah, you got sense there. Yes, fine. Something else? Land use change. What's the meaning of the word urbanization? Movement of people. From pressure. Yeah, you all are right. I'm looking at something more specific. What's the meaning of the word urbanization? Okay. Urbanization is the percentage of people living in urban areas. That's all. Okay. अब urban areas में वो खेती कर रहे हैं या इंडस्ट्री में हैं या फिर जॉब नहीं है, ओके, वो बात की बात है. When I use the word urbanization, it's about the percentage of people in urban areas. Okay, so in our context, urbanization could mean two things. One is in terms of population size in urban areas and in terms of quality of life associated with urban areas. Say 1 and 2. Okay. So when I use the word urbanization, what do I mean? Do I mean population in urban areas? Or do I mean quality of life in urban areas? Or do I mean both? Anybody? When I say urbanization, it means what? The size of population in urban areas? Or does it mean quality of life in urban areas? Or does it mean both? Answer is only this. Okay. एक assumption है that if people live in urban areas, they'll have better quality of life, but not necessarily. If more and more people come to urban areas and they live in slums, they live in conditions where you have got air pollution, live in conditions where drinking water problems are severe, they live in conditions where there are conflicts. So India is having high urbanization, but very poor quality of urban life. Okay. This is what we call as India's problem of dysfunctional urbanization. Okay. Our urbanization does not have quality of life. In fact, in many ways, the quality of life is far poorer than what people would have had if they were in rural areas. Okay. If nothing else, at least they have an open area, they are living with some amount of clean air and clean water. In rural areas, if nothing else, you can at least do your own farming and do some survival. In urban areas, you end up becoming homeless. You end up living in slums, in ghettos. You live as destitutes. So if you look at India's population distribution, I'm saying that it is changing very rapidly because of rural to urban migrations. Okay. And this we call is the rapid urbanization. But this does not mean the quality of life is improving in India. Right now, this urbanization, however, is not synonymous with improving quality of urban life. Synonymous with improving quality of urban life. This is only indicative of rapid rural depopulation because of distress in agriculture economy. Okay. So in India, the urban populations are increasing rapidly, okay, which is actually a problem for India. No, it's not like that. Your friend asking, okay, but agriculture is doing good. It's not doing good. Okay, so if you look at post-COVID, when manufacturing was completely collapsed, the services sector had also tanked. A lot of people moved from urban to rural. The agriculture economy, okay, managed. So, इस time में the agriculture sector grew around 3 to 4%. If you look at post-COVID में, okay, 1-2 years, and even during COVID, when these two had shut down completely, this managed. So we were happy that agriculture revive हो गया. ऐसा नहीं है. If you look at last year's data, agriculture sector का growth has been less than 1.5%. Okay, so it's a concern now. And worst is हम data बता रहे थे that if you look at workforce of India, okay, almost 48% is in agriculture, and इसमें भी there are two type of population. One are what we call as cultivators, and others are the farm laborers and the tenant farmers. Okay. The cultivators are those who do farming and they also own land. Farm laborers are not owning land. In the last couple of years, the cultivators have declined, whereas the farm labor has increased. ये सब concerns के trends हैं, and that impacts how, okay, the rural population is witnessing out migrations. Yeah, I discussed this, right, while discussing in GS class. on I think Friday maybe or Saturday shayad, whatever. Okay, so no, agriculture has distress that results in rural. In fact, ये सबसे बड़ा concern है. This migration from rural to urban areas is a very big concern. ठीक है, लिख लो, write down these points here. In geography, ultimately, you have to have lot of interlinkages. ठीक है, within bracket mention this, that farm or agriculture economy is growing at a very slow pace. Less than 1.5%. Less than 1.5%. 1.5%, and there is decline in cultivators. Okay, while landless farmers have increased. This is symbolic of farm distress. This is symbolic of farms distress. Leading to rural-urban migration. That's what I'm saying. The population is getting now redistributed. अब change हो रहा है. और एक और point कर दो, that along with the growth of mega cities, the tier 2 and tier 3 cities are also growing rapidly. The tier 2 and tier 3 cities are also growing rapidly. Implying more and more population are not just moving towards largest cities. More and more population are not just moving towards largest cities, but moving towards small towns also. ठीक है? Okay, that's for today. I've finished the topic of distribution. Tomorrow I'll take up growth of population. And again, my request to all of you, please make sure that you have done your summary work every day. हर दिन summary लिखना. And one of you asked me what book to read for this. My suggestion to all of you, do not read any book right now without my suggestions. So I'll finish off some topics, then I'll tell you the page numbers, कौन सा topic कहाँ से पढ़ना है. Okay, so अभी आपका काम है only the class, nothing else. Once in 4, 5, 6 days, I'll tell you the page numbers of the books. When you bring the books, I'll help you mark and underline also. Abhi you stick to the class notes alone. Okay, so the older students can leave. The new students, please stay back. I didn't finish off the conversation of last class. I'll take half an hour, 20 minutes, and then I'll relieve you. Yeah, the old ones can leave. The new ones, if you can stay back, please stay back. आपको सिखा दिया, right? Okay. So in the last class, I gave you a quick idea about our geography coverage, what topics we'll do when, and how we plan to go about your year's planning. Okay, so I said a couple of things last time. So you understand the foundation course now. Okay, and foundation course के बाद में you must do some enrichment and answer writing. यहाँ पर also we will have answer writing, but a different kind. These are more revision types. This is a bit different. Okay, I hope you can appreciate it. Foundation course will take care of L1 and L2 answers, some of them, and this will take care of L2 and L3. Okay, because we'll teach something more there. Then I had told you that current affairs, how to do that. This is a common mistake, and why I'm stressing on this is because geography will need lot of current affairs, and current affairs, you require across environment, rural planning, development, population, urban issues. So geography, and not just geography, for that matter, all optionals, jitne bhi core optionals hain, whether it is public administration or sociology or PSIR or geography, these core subjects will have current affairs. So my recommendation was 2-3 things. Number one, I said, don't do current affairs daily. This is one mistake people make. And the worst is, you try doing current affair of the same day on the same day. Of the day on the same day. Like today's newspaper, aap aaj padh ke, okay, you want to finish it off. Aisa hota nahi hai. See, what happens is, the difference between news and versus understanding and appreciating current issues, ये दो अलग चीज है. News is what's in the newspaper. Say I talk about a development called Middle East crisis. You'll find the news in every paper every day. Something happens today, Israel. Something happens today, say Hamas. Tomorrow again Hamas. Day after tomorrow again Iran. फिर एक दिन के बाद फिर इजराइल आ जाएगा, फिर कुछ दिन कुछ और आ जाएगा. So the news तो हर दिन है, but the issue is developing slowly, and the issue actually matures after 1 or 2 months. Otherwise हो क्या रहा है पता है? आप हर दिन वही न्यूज़ पढ़ रहे हो. Okay, so a newspaper coverage is best when you cover after some issue has developed properly. Otherwise, you'll never have a sense of progress. That's why I said, एक तो do not do the news of the same day. इस जरूरत नहीं है. Time है तो कर लो, ठीक है. It's always better you study 1 month older news. Okay, and older news which has been brought together properly. So I have recommended all of you that please do thematic studies. Okay, thematic, I said, divide news under 4 heads. इसके beyond जाएगा नहीं आपका. Polity, environment, economy, okay, and science and tech. These are the 4 core current affair issues. IR we enjoy because वो power game दिखता है. But IR based you do not require in your prelims. IR से mains में भी there are 2 or 3 questions, that's all. But पढ़ने मजा आता है. Geopolitics everybody enjoys. Okay, but you actually have questions इसी 4 areas से. So my recommendation is, in your month, okay, you have got 4 weeks. keep one day of every week for one theme. I recommend Friday because that's how I do it. So one Friday do polity, one Friday do economy, one Friday do environment, and one Friday do science and technology. And why Friday? Because most of you will have no class on Sundays. You can revise quickly also. And which one to read and which not to read, let us suggest that to you. So I am doing this. Every Friday or Saturday we come up with a document. This is the polity news of the previous month. This is the environment news of the previous month. Okay, which is organized. In fact, earlier I used to have classes also, but then I found attendance is less because most of you prefer reading on your own. And then that's a good thing, in fact. So आपको हर Friday मिल जाएगा, and you can trust this document. देखो एक और problem है. No matter what you do, 100% coverage कभी नहीं होने वाला. Okay. There's always, if you know this rule, it's called as 80-20 rule. ये सुना आपने? Okay, 20% of efforts give you 80% of results. So in our coverage, because of experience, because our team knows what they are doing, the bulk of the important topics we will definitely cover. Or you don't trust us, you trust anybody, that's fine, that's your choice. But then pick up only one source. Don't be across too many news, booklets and magazines. Because you are with us, I'm suggesting hamare sath raho, if you can. So we give the list to you. Yahi list ko aap, and it's a list of not more than 10 pages. Read it 3-4 times, very fast. On that, make some jottings. Agar curious ho, look up something on the net. But let this work be not more than 2-3 hours on Friday. So on Friday, do nothing else. Come to class summary kar liya. Agar GS mein hai, GS kar lo, that's all. Spend the entire time of Friday thereafter, 3-4 hours, just with one section of polity or one section of current affairs. And I repeat, read it 3-4 times. You want some clarity, go back and check the internet maybe. But keep a target, I will not spend more than 3-4 hours on Friday, that's all. Summary is done, jotting is done. Maybe I'll quickly turn the sheets on Saturday and Sunday, ek baar ulta lenge, taki yaad ho jaye, that's all. So this is my recommendation, okay? And along with this, twice a month, we also come out separately with geography and environment current affairs alag se bhi karte hain. This is part of the exercise that geography requires current affairs. So one is the GS type of content, and this content, ye bhi current affairs hi hai, but from the geography's point of view. Okay, so we have public, again, usme I'll give the PDFs to you, okay, and you can revise that. Usme questions bhi honge, usme case studies bhi hoga, and all of that. So my recommendation is this one. Now, the next thing, if you all have your mobile phone with you, okay, can you all open up please on and offline? On and offline. Go to your Chrome browser. If you're using iPhone also, don't go Safari. Okay, use Chrome browser. In the Chrome browser, on the URL, please type https ask mentor sign up. online, I hope you all are listening to me. Maybe online network मुझे पता नहीं ठीक है या नहीं है. Did you manage this? Ask.com. Oh, sorry. Askmentor.com. Sign up. अब हुआ? It asks for registration. Write your name, give your phone number, you'll get an OTP. Chrome browser. Ask mentor.com/sign up. Okay. This should open up all of you. Put your mobile, put your name, get an OTP. Did you all manage this? हो गया? So if you log in, I'm logging in mine. Login, OTP. Verify OTP. I get this. Have you all got, all of you come here? ठीक है? Now see, this platform is like your ultimate guide for UPSC preparation. Any material you need, any model answer you need, ये जो flash कर दिख रहा है, flash कर रहा है. If you click this, you'll get a template. You need a short note, you need a case study, you need an approach of answer, you need a model answer. Okay. Even essay, abhi evaluate is not yet activated right now, or essay guidance. You press a template, say, I'm looking for a model answer. Model answer. So my question is, discuss population distribution patterns on globe. ठीक है? And I say go. You can take up any question you want to take up. High density region, urbanization, low density, what are the factors, climate, data, East Asia, South, दिख रहा है आपको ये वाला? Trust me, अगर इतना भी लिख के आ जाते हो ना, okay, you will get 8, 9 out of 10 in terms of marks. Take up any PYQs you want. This essentially is an AI tool we have developed. which is only for UPSC preparation. You want a case study, go here. I want a case study. Case study is rural to urban migration in India. I want an example types. Okay. So let's see. You don't need any other book for that matter. आपको जो भी चाहिए. Okay. So it says, okay, because of economic liberalization, 450 million are migrating, like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore. Okay, economic liberalization, Bihar, UP, West Bengal. Some programs like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana required. Some more details, which age group. You can't have more than this. Okay, you take up anything. You want to discuss an essay also. Say I come here and say I want approach. Approach basically means gives an idea about कैसे लिखोगे आप. Say I'm writing about how will the future population distribution look like. Discuss. Okay. This is not an answer. You can approach to you. कैसे लिखोगे आप? That's it. So talk about urbanization. Talk about So let the answer have urbanization, demographic change, socio-economic factor, disparities, environment concerns, कैसे impact करेगा, what the policy can be. ये answer नहीं है, remember this. It's only giving inputs. Use this and write the answer now. Okay. If I want some timelines, say go to short notes. Short notes I'm asking, say, short notes mein I want something on urban development, say programs I'm asking. Give me the urban development programs. Okay. See how it will give you the pattern some other way. List of initiatives. Yeah, you can see this timeline here now. All major ones across years. Okay, name of the programs: JNN URM launched, Smart Cities launched, Amrut was launched, PM May was launched, Pradhan Mantri Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi, Swachh Bharat Mission, page 2. Your GS is done in this, trust me. You must just know what to ask here. Okay, so my recommendation is, whatever studies you are doing, okay, along with the class notes, play around with this. It's free of cost as of now. I have not yet launched this. This is more of an initial beta phase. We just declared this last week to all our students. Okay, so I will run this like this for another 2-3 months. When I'm convinced, definitely I'll make it a paid version then. But आपके लिए, because our students हैं, आपको free रहेगा ये वाला. And please use it. One big challenge for many of you is, sir, answers कैसे लिखा जाता है? Learn from here. Sit down every day and make it a habit. मुझे 5 topics देखना है. In fact, I can ask this system, say, let me refresh it. Okay. Guide me on guide me on how to study deforestation in India. Okay, मुझे कोई टॉपिक मिला, मुझे पढ़ना आता नहीं है. Let's see what this system tells you. Okay, so as teachers I can use this. पूरा फॉर्मेट मेरे पास में है. Okay, so start with what is deforestation, definition बता दो, type बता दो, give history of trends and figures, give me the legal frameworks, what are the cause of deforestation, the effect of deforestation, current and analysis, solutions, mitigation strategies. Take a case study. Now I can go and look for details for each of this. End of the day, I'll have a good, nice 6-7 page summary. I can use it to teach also in the class. So whatever topics you don't have for yourself, so please teach me how to understand Middle East crisis. This will give you the data here. Okay? So I'll request all of you as a part of जो current affairs के सर फोड़ रहे थे आप, give me another 2-3 weeks. I'll update all current affairs on this. Okay, जो भी पढ़ना होगा, give me current affairs of month of Feb on environment. Give me current affairs of month of January for polity. ये आपको दे देगा आपको. Okay, so now it's time you start learning, study on your own. और doubts है तो आके पूछ लो, not an issue. So whatever I've taught till now, okay, you can confirm from this. This will not give you a flawless output right now. It takes time to train it. There can be some errors, but I think those are really not much in terms of what you actually need. Okay? So use this mentor.com. You have a login ID, password, and ask me questions. I'll see when I finish the topic. I can use this also. Okay. So to acha isme na you also get this. End of the write-up, you also get the PYQs asked earlier. What are the questions asked? And right now I have mapped largely the GS paper. So आपके पास environmental issues, deforestation 2018 में पूछा था. Role of government in deforestation 20 में पूछा हुआ है. And if I click this, I'll also get the model answer for this. Okay, whatever answer I should have, पूरा आपको answer मिल जाएगा आपको. ठीक है? Yeah, I'm happy you like it, and please write and use. And यहाँ पर ना एक button है submit feedback. So if you do not like some output, let us know. Just click करना, anything else. Was it easy to use? Yes, no, whatever. Did I understand correctly? Partially, yes, maybe. How accurate it was? Maybe needs improvement. Okay, what suggestion if you think you want to add, and you submit it here. Okay, so play around with this and see if you can be used to this one thing. And one more request. Now, please do not misunderstand me. I know it's a difficult position I am at as teacher. If you haven't started your GS yet, or if you have not taken admission yet, my request to you is join GS with us. We will start our GS class sometime in April. Okay, and I'll teach you the way I'm doing in geography also. Our fees will be much, much lesser because nobody knows us in a big way. But I am the one who is hedging it, who is supporting it. The team is trained. Okay, so if you have not taken GS admissions yet, okay, I'll request join us. And if you have taken admission, I'm sure you have not paid the entire fees. Show us your admission card that you have paid the money already. We'll give you a healthy discount. I don't want students to leave our portal class. Okay, if you have to study to the process, to a pattern. Because see, the problem is, when you end up in 2-3 places, the method of teaching starts clashing. Your timings also will start clashing, unfortunately. So typically what we have is start the GS with us morning 8:30, 8:30 to 11:30 do GS class, take a half an hour break, come and study with geography, and second half aap pura free rakho. We'll finish your GS foundation completely by December, and then we'll put you through a process of prelims also. Okay. So my request here, I said, don't misunderstand, don't take like a marketing types. Okay. I would love to have you in the class, in our team. And we are in a tie-up with Shankar IAS, if you're aware of that. They are leaders in southern India. In northern India, we are supporting them for the GS. So it's an entire end-to-end package. And with this platform of ours, I don't think we should be behind any other institute in terms of the courses. Okay? So April, I think mid we will start. Tab tak kya hoga? A good part of geography will be done for you. Okay, आधा हो चुका होगा, the pressure will be much lesser, then you start off. And up to April, I'll start off maybe sometime week after next, will help you cover some portions of NCRTs first. This is one mistake people make. They enter the GS without any proper base reading first. And that's when they start struggling. Yeah, Sunena, April mid I think I'll start off. But before April, from the month of maybe late Feb, we'll get into the process of GS revisions also. Okay, NCRTs in particular, and I'll support with some classes also. The classes generally are morning 8:30, but I'm thinking of evening batch also. If some of you want, you can do that. Okay, ठीक है. That's my suggestion for current affairs. So let's meet tomorrow. Yeah, no, you're not late. You start with me from April. 26 is very doable. Because I will take care of geography, environment, SAV. ठीक है? Okay. Bye-bye, Priyanshu. Bye. Bye-bye, beta.